This is a book review of Akash Singh Rathor's Ambedkar's Preamble, A Secret History to the Constitution of India. The basic argument of the book is to state that as against popular perception, it is neither Nehru's Objectives Resolution nor Constitutional Advisor B.N. Rao's draft constitution from which India's preamble has been borrowed. In fact, it's Ambedkar's preamble. It may be a secret, but it's Ambedkar's preamble. Now, Rathor uses a particular date of birth of the preamble to make his case. What that date of birth is and how and why that helps Rathor make his argument is something you'll have to read the book to get to know. What I want to talk about is the reason why I find the book more speculative and conjectural rather than substantiated. I think there are three reasons for this, and the first one is given by Rathor himself. In the very introduction, he states that the evidence or the archival documents he's used in order to make his argument are very limited. And therefore, to make such tall claims as it is definitively, authoritatively, irrefutably Dr. Ambedkar's preamble is something which is uneasy for me as a reader. The evidence indeed supports Rathor's hypotheses. Yes, it states that the essence of India's preamble can be credited to Dr. Ambedkar. But the evidence does not tie itself definitively to the hypothesis to state that it is irrefutably Dr. Ambedkar's preamble, to state that it is authoritatively Dr. Ambedkar's preamble. And the other reason is that the book is very repetitive. It is repetitive in its sections not only within the book, but also it is borrowing, it is drawing parallels with the previous book written by Dr. Rathor, and that book is the Indian Political Theory Laying the Groundwork for Swaraj. What this repetition gives a perception to the reader is that again your evidence is limited and therefore you are using the same bits and pieces or the same sections of your evidence in order to make more than one claim. Which is fine. It is fine so long as you are making, you're trying to put forward a seed or you're trying to insert a thought in the reader's mind. But to make a tall claim that it is irrefutably Dr. Ambedkar's preamble, or that the entire preamble must be credited, the gene or the DNA of the preamble goes in Dr. Ambedkar's thought as the words used by Rathor in his own book, is something which will definitely make the reader uncomfortable. We agree with the idea that yes, Dr. Ambedkar played a definitive role, but to say that only he played a definitive role or that he is to be the only one to be credited as against the other thinkers is very difficult, because it initiates the idea of usurpation. It feels like Rathor is usurping the fact that there may be more than one thinker to have influenced the making of the preamble. He brings in the arguments of Nehru, he brings in the arguments of Gandhi, Savarkar, Tilak and a number of other thinkers, and he draws the distinction between their thinking and Ambedkar's thinking to state that the provisions in the preamble are definitely taken from Ambedkar's thinking as against the thinking of these other thinkers. Though the evidence may again be only supportive rather than definitive, it is acceptable. But then again, the very roots of the idea to state that a particular document, a particular body of work has been produced, has been influenced authoritatively by one person, I think is an idea which Ambedkar himself would have rejected. For he too would have stood against the fact that you are discrediting or you're taking away from an equal share of influence laid by other thinkers. More than that, I feel that the book, the essence of the book, is more normative. In the sense, it is more an argument for what should be considered to be the essence of India's preamble rather than what really is. And it's much desired for such counter thoughts. But then, for a book to be that normative, for a book to be more speculative and conjectural, particularly certain chapters of the book which were the justice and the nation, they seem to be extremely conjectural and repetitive. It is difficult to agree with Rathor's tall claims. I think there's a want of a better word, therefore I'm using the term tall claims, but I think this is what he is making. He is making a tall claim. But there's certain beauty to the book. The idea of Dalit Swaraj, which is so wonderful, which is something which is really required to be taught to people as and it really justifies how the philosophical essence of the constitution can be fruitified, can be given an altogether new dimension when looked through the idea of Dalit Swaraj. It is extremely marvelous, and I thank Mr. Rathore for giving us this concept, for giving us this new lens of understanding, of reading the constitution, of trying to decipher its philosophical essence. Then again, it is very beautiful to know why Dr. Ambedkar chose the word liberty over freedom, even though freedom under a common understanding seems to be more liberating than the word liberty itself. Yet Dr. Ambedkar chose the word liberty as against freedom. I found the best part of the book to be the equality chapter. It was making an argument for why the concept of liberty comes from Ambedkar's thinking by using a series of unfinished book by Dr. Ambedkar, and the title of that series is A History of Revolutions and Counter-Revolutions in India, and that is a lesser known book. I don't think that has been taught enough, which is rather surprising because it gives such a wonderful analysis of the Indian history. It states that the Indian history has been a struggle for equality of gender and caste. And it is a wonderful analysis to make and gives a lot of dimension to the concept of equality, which is otherwise understood more in the Marxist sense or in the socialist sense, or maybe even in the egalitarian sense, but it has hardly been understood in terms of again the idea of Dalit Swaraj. So these are some wonderful aspects of the book. They really have a lot to teach you. To know about these arguments, to be introduced to these deeper level of thinking of Dr. Ambedkar is very, very satisfying for me as a reader, and therefore I highly recommend this book to be picked up and to be delved into and to be debated with. But again, as I stated, that the book, please be prepared to know that the book is more speculative. I mean, it will leave you intrigued, it will leave you thinking in the direction that Rathore is trying to indicate or is trying to throw light upon, but it is not going to convince you to your satisfaction. It is going to leave you a little unsettled with the idea that why are you usurping our preamble to just one person? Indeed, while Dr. Ambedkar may be the most influential, he definitely was not the only one influential, and therefore, particularly when there are fillers, the book is based on fillers. There are areas in the book which are reading in between the lines because there is not enough substance to fill in those gaps, and therefore the book is using its own fillers. Under such circumstances, the tall claims made by Rathore are a little unsettling. But any case, I mean, this book is a must read. I hope it is picked up by more people. I hope more people get influenced by the idea of Dalit Swaraj. Thank you.